Welcome everybody to Cooking in the Kitchen with Sisterhood. And this is Cooking and Camaraderie with Chef Cantor Allison. Evening, we will be preparing a very easy, very tasty potato leek soup. You can serve hot or cold, and as cold, it would be a vichyssoise if you want to be a little fancy. As we get into the spring and summer months, you might want it cold. It might be very refreshing, but I think that it is an excellent soup warm. And so now, to get started, first things first, got to wash the hands. All right, this is a COVID world, but anyway, cooking world. So we're gonna go wash our hands. Now, we are cooking from the temple's brand new kitchen. So as I move around the kitchen, I'm gonna be able to show you what it looks like. So I thought this would be really nice to come and give you a first glimpse. So I'm, different cameras. Okay, this is very cool. All right, so first, I'm going to go over here to wash my hands. Can you see me?
Sorry, one person doing 5 things.
Got our soap dispenser. Okay. In our new kitchen, we have 3 hand washing stations so that we are all set for all of our hand washing needs in the kitchen. There's one in the back, so one over here, one on the side over here, and one in the back corner here. So we have 3 new hand washing stations. And now that my hands are clean, it is time to get started on our soup. So I'm going to show another new feature, very nifty.
Before we do that, why don't we explain everybody the camera situation right now? As far as Zoom goes, because there are 2 things to look at to keep on.
Yes, you might have noticed that there's a Allison Levine. That's going to be sort of my headshot. But if you see, there's a TBELI Temple office, and that's going to be sort of the full body and kitchen shot. So you can see multiple angles as we are cooking here tonight. So another very cool new feature in our kitchen is we have a water spout. So Evan, if you could bring that over, I want to show everybody our new water spout. So you don't have to drag your heavy pot from the sink in the corner. Now it's just over here. So our first step is we're going to fill our measuring cups. We're going to do 8 cups of water. So we're going to put 8 cups of water into our soup pot. So I'm going to turn on our flow, and here we go. So I have a 2-cup measuring cup. So that means I fill it 4 times to get my 8 cups of water. This is the last one. And you can see that it's so easy, and you don't have to bring the soup pot very far at all. Stay right here on the edge. This one looks like a good burner for me. So that was very smart when they redid the kitchen. That was really helpful, a really helpful thing to include. Once we have our water on our stove, we're going to put our stove to boiling.
I'm just going to pin, Cantor, I'm just going to pin this camera.
Okay.
Okay.
So that is boiling right now. And so now we grab our bouillon. So I'm not sure how many of you are cooking with me, but this bouillon is excellent. It's the,
This one's.
So we're pinned over here. So
Yeah,
I'm getting told camera A. Okay. This is a wonderful bouillon. It's herb ox vegetable bouillon. And no, I don't get any kickback from them. They are just, it's really good bouillon, especially in this soup. It's really tasty. Sometimes you can find it in the supermarket, but if you can't find it in the supermarket, it actually, you can find it on Amazon as well. So they have it as well. So for this soup, you will need 8 cubes. Okay, sorry. 8 cubes for our soup. So you just count out each cube and undo each cube, and that's going to be going into our soup. So here we go, right here. Now, this is actually a soup that I learned the recipe from all the way back when I was in college. When I was in college, I had joined a fruit and vegetable CSA. So every week I would collect a box of fruits and veggies and try to find creative ways to eat them during the week. And one sort of winter, spring, I got leeks. And I just said, what is this vegetable? I have no idea what this vegetable is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with leeks. And so, and also there were potatoes in that box. And so I looked online, I said, what can I do with leeks and potatoes? And I found this very simple recipe. And it was so easy, but it actually turns out really, really delicious. And so I have been making it ever since. So our water is starting to boil, and I am going to get back to peeling these bouillon cubes. I actually did a test run here in the Temple kitchen because I hadn't cooked in the new kitchen, so I had to see how everything works with the stove and everything. So I actually made this soup during Passover. And I realized, you know, this soup is actually good for Passover because it uses potatoes and leeks, and you could eat it then as well. So no chametz. So how's everyone doing with their bouillon? Is anybody doing bouillon or?
Rabbi, let me ask you, could you also use, for instance, if you want to cut down on the salt content, could you use unsalted, for instance, chicken broth for some of the, instead of using the bouillon, which is higher in sodium?
Yes, you can use something lower in sodium for sure. The way this one works is it actually will make more than about 10 cups of soup. So each bowl will have even less than 1 cube of bouillon in it. So it's not actually as salty as it could be. But definitely, any kind of bouillon, you could do chicken, you could do beef, it will just have a different flavor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put all the cubes into my boiling pot and let those start to break down. Hi, new iPad. So I want you to write in the chat, what is your favorite soup? Do you have a favorite soup? Do you have a soup that is your go-to soup? Is it a matzo ball? Is it a chicken noodle? Is it vegetarian? You can write in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. That's okay.
Matzo ball.
Matzo ball.
Mm-hmm.
Turkey soup.
Mushroom barley.
Black bean.
That sounds
Oh, black bean.
Butternut squash, but my husband makes it for me. I can't take credit for it.
Grandchildren vote for matzo ball soup. I don't ever eat any of their matzo balls, but my favorite is butternut squash apple.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I like
Yeah.
lentil soup. I make lentil.
Ooh.
It's nice to hear you talking. It was very strange to hear the sisterhood on mute. I'm nervous.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, right.
It's nice to see how nice the kitchen looks. We haven't seen it since it's been reconstructed.
Yes, and as we cook, I'm going to show you more and more of it.
Until I realized that I thought it was your kitchen at home.
Yeah, my kitchen is definitely not as big as this one with much space. I mean, really. Let me just take a second to show you. Do you want to use?
I'll use that camera. Yeah,
Okay.
hey, everybody.
All right, so I'm going to have a little help from my video producer here.
Worst way to do this. So bring it in.
Can you show all that counter space?
All this counter space.
Show all the counter space so everybody can see all this counter space here.
And they can see a pure water bottle.
Okay. Can you
I'll keep going.
keep going, keep going. Show everybody.
Yeah.
So we've got all of this counter space here, and you can go behind you and show that we have a very nice island here
Although I'm currently using
for that's even more food prep. And if you go towards the right, you can see even more islands. Over here by the back, we have a new dishwasher in the corner. So that's excellent. And then you can keep panning. We've got, okay, stop. We've got a new microwave here, and there is one of our hand washing sinks. And
Oh, we're only seeing you.
Yeah, I only see you.
you only see me. It's
Yes.
On a different screen.
No, I see the
Temple
kitchen.
office is the screen.
I see the kitchen. I'm in gallery view and I can see the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to look
Yeah,
at the
it's there.
temple one, not the Allison Levine.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
okay, now I see. I see. The one not occupied with anyone.
I know, we got fancy.
Uh-huh.
And then if you come around this side, you can see we have the new convection ovens with 10 different places to put food in that heats it up in a jiffy. Right here, I'm doing my Vanna White. Here, I can see that my soup is rapidly boiling that I have been completely neglecting. So I'm gonna turn that down a little. This is our same stove that we've had. And then over here, we have another hand washing station with our coffee maker.
That's new.
And we have our refrigerator, but on the far side of the refrigerator, actually, you know, I'm gonna go walk over and get my leeks. Here we go.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Where I gather everything from my refrigerator here.
Go for it.
Okay. And on the far side of me, we have a new freezer. So,
Ah,
That's great.
so
yeah.
all of my leeks. So now on the, you might notice that there's a lot of space in the middle. All of those closets are now gone, and we actually have room here. And post-COVID, we can actually gather and cook together. And how nice is that?
Without sort of hunching underneath the long shelf, had another shelf on top, and you'd have people kind of, when we were making hamantash, and half the people were under it practically, like in between the two, the top shelf and the counter.
Exactly. So it's wonderful for all of the temple cooking that will be going on, for Project Hope, for Hi, for all of the sisterhood or any other temple events with cooking. So it's a wonderful, wonderful addition. And I also want to mention this floor is epoxy. I don't know. Can you get the floor? Oh, videographer.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
It's epoxy and it's good to stand on.
Ah,
It even has a tilt to it to let the water gather. So
Very-
everything is updated and new. So we're going to move on to our actual vegetables. So if you've got the peeler and our potatoes, let's get peeling. And we can chop them up and put them in our soup, okay?
Anyone else here?
So I love to cook soups personally. I make a lot of vegetarian soups, actually. I do a really nice black bean soup. And I also do a vegetarian chili. There is a cookbook I really like called Cook Real Food. And I am not actually vegetarian, but there's wonderful recipes in there, and she has great soups. One of them is a minestrone as well. Really great recipe there. So it's nice when you can get lots of vegetables in a soup because, you know, then you can eat your vegetables, but it doesn't feel like you're eating your vegetables, right? So this is one of my oldest favorite recipes. Do you guys have a favorite family recipe? Is there a favorite family recipe anybody has out there? For anything, it doesn't have to be soup. Off mute.
Are you chopping the leek now? I can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or the potatoes, okay.
Doing potatoes. I guess the temple office is the one that can see the potatoes. And the other one is my head, so two different screens. So I'm doing the peelers. So my grandmother was an amazing cook. I called her Gram. And back when I was in college, this is how old this peeler is. She mailed me this vegetable peeler because she said it was the best vegetable peeler ever, and I needed one. So it's the OXO vegetable peeler, and so I'm still using it all these years later. So when I peel vegetables, I think of my Gram and how excited she was about this particular vegetable peeler. The funny thing was, I don't think she wasn't much of a soup maker, but she made a really mean brisket. For sure. And also she used to make, not for Passover, but she used to make amazing garlic bagel chips. And they were so amazingly good. I think one of the secrets to good food is butter. A lot of butter, followed quickly on the heels of garlic and salt. And I think with that trifecta, you're pretty much never gonna lose anything you cook. So I've got my potatoes all peeled. And now I'm gonna chop them up. So if you look at the Temple office, you're gonna see me chop up this potato right here. And something in that? Okay. So yes. So for this one, I just cut it into chunks. You don't have to be too worried about uniformity or anything like that because this is going in the blender. So you cut it right into chunks, just like so. And then 2 potatoes is usually enough unless they're really tiny. You might want a little bit more. If you add a little bit more potato, it makes for a thicker soup. If you add a little less, it makes for a thinner soup. Can the camera be moved down? Evan, can we get the camera a little further down? So.
Okay.
Is there any specific kind of potato you're using?
I'm using a russet potato.
Oh.
Those tend to be good and they hold up in the soup. That one.
Oh, don't tell me.
And now I'm just getting my boiling soup going again. So for this, you do want to work a little bit quickly as you're going, because otherwise you'll boil away all the water in your soup if you get to talking too much. All right, so our potatoes are ready to toss into the soup. So I'm going to do that right now, and they're going to go right in the pot here. Okay. So I will tell you, the Temple burners are very efficient. So this soup got boiling in, sorry, look right now. This soup got boiling in a heartbeat, really. So just know if you are going to be using the Temple kitchen, you know, don't turn your back on the oven or the stove top, because it'll burn.
On that note, do we need to add more water because?
No, I actually turned it off, and then I turned it back on. So this is actually like I mentioned, the second time I've done this soup, because I wanted to test everything out. So I did a test run. So the next thing is we have our leeks. All right. So this leek is, you see it's got sort of a bulb, it's got a white end, and then it's got a green section here. Now, we actually eat this section here at the bottom. And leeks they're part of the onion family. So onions, scallions, chives, they're all going to be that same oniony flavor. And leeks are going to be like a gentler, milder onion taste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop off the rough green heads. All right, and then I'm going to chop off that bulb at the bottom that has the little hairs, okay? All right, now leeks are grown in very sandy soil. So that means that they need excellent washing in the sink. Otherwise, you're going to end up with some silt in your soup, some sand in your soup. So what I like to do is I like to take my knife and I like to cut it down the center of the leek. And as I do that, after I do that, I'm going to go over to the sink and I'm going to separate out all of those layers. I'm going to let the cold water rinse off all of the sand that can be there. So you really want to wash your leeks very well, especially in a blended soup. You definitely don't want any sand or grit. So if Evan can follow me, I'm going to go over to our sink. Okay, and I'm going to wash away.
Unfortunately, we can't really get much closer because of the table length, everybody, so sorry about that.
Can you also chop it up and put it into a salad spinner to get the sand out?
You really want to get in every little layer because I'm seeing sand hiding. It's hiding.
And show us what the sand will look like.
I think I already washed it away.
Oh.
Okay. All right. All right. So
Louise, we're all seeing, I'm
you
seeing.
really think that,
what happened.
oh, Louise, you're on a screen share, so if you could just
Yeah.
turn off of that. Oh, thank you. Now, it almost, you'll look and you think, oh, there's no sand in here at all, but then you peel back the layers and you will find a little bit hiding because it's very tricky, these leeks. So once you have washed your leeks, it's really simple. We're just going to cut them. I'm just going to cut it down the center, and I'm just going to cut it in little circles. And these are what I'm going to add straight into the soup pot with those potatoes. Now, I throw in the potatoes first because those potatoes take a little bit longer than the leeks to cook because they are thicker. So we've got our potatoes boiling away. And now I am going to put the leeks in the soup. Now the soup is really simple. It only has a couple ingredients, so it's really nice. Very easy to make. And those of you at home making it, you will see that it is very tasty. So this is about the size of, this is 2 leeks. I would say you could use 3 leeks if you've got some really, really puny little leeks. So if you have little tiny leeks, maybe 3 leeks, but regular size leeks, I would say 2 leeks is enough. Once you get those all chopped up, you can throw them into your broth.
Allison, would you ever saute the leeks in butter and then add it to the potatoes to sort of caramelize?
You know, you can do that. I think it might affect a little bit just the, when you blend it might be a little bit mushier, I think, when you blend it, but you could definitely try it out and see if a little butter on the leeks beforehand could add to the recipe. I definitely think butter always adds to a recipe, so I can't imagine that that would be a bad thing.
I've done it that way.
One of the things about this recipe that's so easy is that there actually is no sauteing beforehand, because I know when I make mushroom soup, that is, you saute the onions and the celery and the carrots. You can do a mirepoix beforehand, and that always makes the soup taste much better because it's a richer base. So right now we have everything bubbling away. I don't really set a timer. Usually about, I would say at this point, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes is going to give us the consistency we want, which is really that a potato, when you poke the potato, that the potato is easily pierced by a fork or a knife. That'll let you know that it's done. But you can see the ingredients we've used so far was water, bouillon, potato, leek. So extremely, extremely easy. Now,
I think we need to give, we're still seeing people coming in. Let's give them a couple of minutes.
Somebody have a question?
Now we're piling on. This is good.
All right, so I have some
coming in
for you. All right, I've been showing you my favorite vegetable peeler.
There we go. How many we got?
Favorite kitchen tool.
I know we have a conflict.
Feel free to unmute yourself and answer, or write in the chat.
May have, usually this group gets 20 to plus to 30 participants. I think we should pause for just a couple of minutes to see who comes in.
Definitely, yeah.
No, and we've got
it's exactly 7:30.
Who is that? What is that coming through?
Hard to tell. Somebody chat.
There's the 7:30 continuing ed thing. Are they using?
Would you like us to mute ourselves?
I think everybody, yeah, you can mute yourself. I think people should be muted. When we get started, I'm going to hit
So are we getting the same station as the adult ed? Is that what's going on?
The phone rings or something happens. You can unmute yourself. We'll see what the speaker wants to do about questions.
That is fascinating.
Oh, he'll address that in a second.
Does somebody have that on in the background or we're just getting some kind of interference? That's really weird.
They're not sharing the Zoom, are they?
I don't believe so. I believe that they're on their own Zoom. Yeah.
That should be.
Okay, I think it got quiet. Is it still there?
Yes.
As they come, but I think we're pretty.
Louise, you're muted.
I was just going to say the voice sounds like Margaret.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it does.
But it's,
Medium,
is it the same Zoom, Louise?
No, I'm not doing
You're
the
not doing
Zoom.
the Zoom, right?
No, because
Right.
Cantor
I know.
told me that that was going to be taken care of. So in fact, I got on late because I was sending someone an email. And then, so I don't know what happened.
I'm just looking right now.
Well, right now it's quiet. So,
Okay. I think we're okay. I think it went away.
for the time being.
Okay. I think they left. Okay, good. So what is your favorite kitchen utensil?
My food processor.
The jar opener that opens every jar imaginable. This is my fave.
I can't live in my kitchen without my knife.
Okay. Do you have a certain kind of knife?
Sharp one.
Oh, don't make Janet mad. I like, I definitely, I like serrated knives. So this is it's actually a tomato knife. But I definitely like these more than carving knives in general because they've got the serration. It's a little easier to use. And that's always good. And also I'd say I like my garlic press because I really hate cutting up garlic. All right, I'm going to check on my potatoes now and see how they're doing.
This is sort of fun. You put a lemon wedge in there. It looks like a little bird, and then you smash this down and you get lemon juice.
Well, that's, I'm glad it's actually useful because sometimes things like that get given as a wedding present and are completely useless. I think
we saw this on a cruise and then we found it afterwards because we thought that was very clever. So
the potatoes are definitely done. But I'm going to give them a couple minutes just to cool down because we're going to be putting this into our blender. And if you blend it too hot, then you might scald yourself.
Oh, so.
Oh, not good.
Yeah, not good. We don't want that to happen. All right, I have another question.
Yes.
What's the worst dinner from your childhood? The one you got home and you said, oh my gosh, that's what we're having?
Liver.
Whitefish.
Tongue.
Ooh.
My mother used to buy these cookies from the store that were kind of they were not very cookie-ish, and they had sort of raisins in it, but we imagined that they were actually flies. So we referred to them as fly crackers. I think then she thought that she was providing dessert and she didn't need to worry about it.
Yeah, those do not sound good.
They were just sort of very flat and no, they were definitely not Oreos or something, but that wasn't her style. But then she took up bread making.
Cantor, should we be cooling this now before we put it in the blender?
You should take it off the stove and let it cool.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I should move it too.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah, so you should just let it cool down a little bit before you blend.
Okay.
And in the meantime, what you can do is you can get a nice big bowl. What we're going to be doing is we are going to take some ladles. I like to do 2 ladles. Okay, from this camera. Okay, I like to do 2 ladles of this soup into the blender at a time. So I do 1 ladle of mostly vegetables, and then I do a second ladle that's mostly broth. And I put that into the blender, and then I puree it until it gets smooth. So I'll probably pulse it a few times and then a little bit after that. Maybe I can give you the heads up before I start the blender going. It's quite loud. And then once you have your soup blended, what you can do is you'll be pouring it into this bowl that you have so that you have a place to put the finished soup. So you'll put the blended soup into that bowl, then you'll do the same steps again. So what you're gonna be doing is you will go into your soup pot, you'll get 2 ladlefuls, 1 mostly vegetables, 1 mostly broth, and blend it again. If you have a really large blender, like a Vitamix or something like that, you can obviously do more than 2 ladles at a time. I have this little cocktail blender over here, so about 2 is good amount. I would say do not fill your blender too full, because if the soup leaks over the top or something like that, it is going to be hot, and that is not good. So you don't want that.
Also a mess. You'll just be wasting it. It'll go on the floor.
Wasted. It might pop out the top. Mine, even with it closed, sometimes some of it leaks out a little bit. So.
Cantor, if you have an immersion blender, you can save yourself all that trouble.
That's true. An immersion blender works well.
I only use
immersion blender. You put it right in the pot, and everything's right there, ready to go.
Yeah, the immersion blender is like my best friend. I never use anything but the immersion blender. It's great.
There's one in the closet, Cantor. There's one in the closet if you want to use it.
Okay. I like to use the blender because it really aerates the soup. It makes it a little fluffy. But I like immersion blenders too. This year, I think it was probably a month ago, I looked in my refrigerator and had no mayonnaise. I really, really wanted an egg salad sandwich. So I took some eggs and oil and a little mustard, and I actually blended up my own mayonnaise with an immersion blender, and it did work. So, and it was actually really tasty. So I was surprised, because I had never made mayonnaise before, but I thought, how hard could it be, right? So, it's always good to take the dive, try new recipes. What's the worst that can happen, right? Does it come out the best? Okay, try another one, right? Or you can go back to the trifecta. Add butter, salt, and garlic. Come out right. Okay, I think we're ready to blend. So I'm going to move my soup closer to my blender. Okay, so now we have a little bit of logistics, because my blender is behind my my Zoom. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move this over to the side.
Let me hold that.
Okay. So it's going to go. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, yes.
You see what I? All right. Is that? Can we see from the other? Can we see from the other camera? Can you see my blender?
Yeah, I can see the blender.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we can see the blender.
Yeah.
Interesting how they do this on the cooking shows. They make it look very easy, right?
And well, they have much higher equipment than us.
I think they just, they pour in bowls of ingredients and stir and say, here's the finished version, right?
Actually, they have a full curve. It's just me here.
All right, so I'm taking the lid off my blender. I have to be very careful, because this is it has a lid with different pouring spouts and straining spouts, and the first time I used it, the soup got everywhere. So I'm glad that I practiced. That's not going to happen tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up my blender here.
I'm going to move the computer, okay?
Okay. So one chunky ladle, one sticky ladle.
Sorry, everybody. We didn't practice this beforehand.
That's okay.
The camera.
Okay, I'm going to look at this. Okay. So now the reason you do it like that is so that you end up with the same sort of consistency of blend. So you don't end up with one blender full that's like mashed potatoes and one that's super thin. because then it won't be the best consistency at the end. So one of the cool things about this kitchen, by the way, it has an outlet right here on the end, so you don't have to go into the corner of a room or anything like that to get this going. Now, I'm going to be blending and it will be loud, so.
Mute yourselves now.
Just a word of warning. That looks about good. Maybe one more. Okay. Now, like I said, the neat thing about this blender is that the lid, so it actually has a pouring spout. This feels like cheating almost. So I can literally just come over here and I'm going to pour it right into the bowl here. All right. So that's the first blend. I think this one will probably be 2 or 3, I guess. It makes about 8 to 10 bowls of soup. It really depends on whether you're going to have a 1-cup bowl or a 2-cup bowl, how much you're going to fill up your bowls, right? All right, so here we go. And as you can see, obviously it's really not that tricky a soup, right? Just a couple ingredients. But it is tasty. I made this once for Thanksgiving, actually. So I mentioned I made it for Thanksgiving, but my mom makes the most amazing carrot soup for Thanksgiving. It's a carrot, onion, and beef broth soup, and she makes it for the holidays, and that really, it's such a good soup. So we had dueling soups one year, but I don't know. I like the soup, but I love her soup. So I think I think hers maybe edged me out. I'll say. All right, so that's the second one. I think maybe one more. We'll see. And then, I don't know why I'm putting. I'm going to take the lid off. Then I'm going to grab the ladle again. Okay. As you can see, we let it cool, but it's still steaming. So you really do want to let it cool off a little bit. Otherwise, watch out. Okay. I'm going to do 2 more because, like I said, you really do want to get that consistency right on the money. Okay, so looking for the closed section, and now, okay, cover your ears. All right. You guys getting hungry? I'm getting hungry. I am ready to eat this soup. And actually, Evan, could you maybe show the bowl here?
I am.
Inside the bowl? Could you show inside the bowl?
No, the camera track behind, I'm sorry.
Oh, too far away. Okay, sure.
Pretty much.
Okay, so I might be able to hold it up and show you that this. Here, can we see it? What it looks like?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so nice and creamy, and that's before we add the heavy whipping cream because it's French. We got to be decadent, okay? This isn't the time to put in fat-free half and half, right? This is a recipe, only 5 ingredients, go for it. You know, you don't have to use the heavy whipping cream, you can use a half and half, but I wouldn't go for anything like light. Because what will happen is you won't end up with a nice silky texture at the end that you want. Okay, so, ooh, this one's kind of a big one, so we'll see how it goes. All right, so we've got that in our blender. We're gonna blend this all up. Then we're gonna add in our cream. Okay, close this up. All right, now sorry in advance, this is gonna be loud. Ah, see, sometimes it gets you. You think you've closed it completely. Ha ha. There we go. Try it again. Okay. So now I'm going to add this in, and you're going to see that this is a pretty big red bowl right here, and this soup is filling up a large portion of it. So it really does make an astounding amount of soup from a couple leeks and a couple potatoes, right? And that's one of the reasons why, even though you do use 8 bouillon cubes, it's really not a salty soup. It doesn't taste very salty as a final product. Now, you've got 2 options at this point. If the soup is kind of on the cool side or you're going to serve it later, you could leave it and then put it back on the stove top and mix in the cream at the end right before you serve it. Or if you're going to eat it now, what you can do is you don't even really have to put it back on the stove top. I'm going to put the cream in the big bowl right now. So for that, you're going to need a half cup of the heavy whipping cream. Now, it sounds like a lot, but when you divide it by all of those bowls of soup, it's really not so bad. Okay, so put this in right now. Okay. And I guess I would say, as you probably guessed, tend to like things. If I'm going to cook, I tend to go for like richer recipes. If you're going to put in the time and effort, I like to have it be a little bit on the richer side. So I've got my cream mixed in, and then I'm also going to add in my pepper. So I guess as the teenagers say, I have white pepper, which is very bougie, right? Fancy, fancy. The white pepper just makes it so you don't get little black flecks in your soup. It just looks a little bit nicer. But certainly any black pepper will work in your soup. And I think, what did I say? 1/8 of a teaspoon. Okay, so we've got our teaspoons here. Gonna add in just a little of this ground pepper. So 1/8 of a teaspoon. You can see, really not so much. Okay. Just get that nice and level. I'm gonna pop that into our soup, and I'm gonna give it a final mix. Here we go. So I'm mixing up the soup right now. So far, would you say this is easy?
Sure.
Does it seem like something you could do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could even, if you wanted to make smaller amounts because you don't have a whole, you could like do 1 leek and 1 potato and kind of
It's
scale
easily
everything
done.
down.
It is easily.
For
done.
those of
It's
us who
true,
are
or you could
cooking
even
ourselves.
freeze it as well.
Well, you could do that too.
You can freeze it. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to chop up a little bit of my chives. I'm going to put this in a bowl. I'm going to show you the final product because you can make it look very fancy. I'm I do have fancier bowls. I brought, right now I have a little fish bowl that I'm going to put mine in.
And you add a little red pepper if you want it a little bit spicy?
Sure. You could add red pepper to make it a little spicier. Yeah. You might want to do that at the very end in individual bowls, so otherwise you might get a pink soup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we can all see what you're cutting.
I'm cutting chives because chives taste delicious on the soup because you get a little bit more enhanced onion flavor, and you also get a little bit of a different texture because the soup itself is going to be very creamy. And so I'm just getting the chives cut up right now. I would say just a couple stems. It really kind of depends. If you like chives a lot like me, you might want to put a little bit more of them in the soup. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take my ladle and I'm going to ladle it into my bowl, which is good because I'm getting hungry. I'm ready to eat this. Okay, so say about two ladlesfuls. Evan, do you like potato leek soup?
I haven't had it before. This will be my
All right.
first time trying it.
All right, so I'm gonna have to get him a bowl too, so that he can taste it.
After this is done.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is one thing I also like to do. Again, this is if you really want to get a little fancy with it, but you can do a little drizzle of cream on top as well. Just a little like design. And then you put chives right in the center, like so. And is there a way to get this on the down?
Keep talking and let me figure something out.
Oh wait, what if I just use my iPad? Bring my iPad over?
That is the laptop, man.
Well, you know. Okay, so
Let's see.
now.
Yes.
Did I get it?
Good.
Okay, so that is the finished soup.
Very nice.
And you can see it, it's very uniform looking, very creamy, and very hearty. I used a little bit bigger potatoes, so a little bit thicker. But it would be great for, you know, a first course too, if you were gonna like a dinner party or something like that, because it's really not so many steps, but it looks really fancy.
It's very good.
So I'm going to, first bite, you gotta have the first.
Very good.
Here we go.
Good.
That's good. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yay.
Yay.
Just like Giada.
Giada. And now I'll make a 20-step lasagna. No, I'm just kidding. For my next trip. Yeah. So it's really such an easy soup, as you can see, and it was really fun that I got a chance to share it with you. And I'm really glad that you could all see the kitchen as well.
Yes.
I want to do like one more. Can we do one more like 360 scan?
But Cantor.
Like one more 360 scan.
Cantor. But now you have to make 20 gallons for Project Hope.
That's doable.
2 scoops at a time.
Okay. One last quick thing.
Cantor, your recipe does make a lot. I mean, I have a whole pot, a big pot of soup. So we're gonna freeze some and eat some. This is dinner. It's very good.
They did a great job on the kitchen.
And it's almost like the first bite's good, and as you keep even better, I think.
Very good. Very nice.
Wow. It's really nice. Wow.
So now
We are going to be having a
kitchen.
ribbon coating ceremony for the kitchen.
Yes.
Have a new soup recipe. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, you can grow chives. That I have chives growing in a little pot that lasted from, I brought them inside when in the winter and they're still growing. I mean, this is on my condo patio garden. So
This is from Junta's chives.
I try to grow basil, but I keep killing it. It's awful.
Oh, really? We have, that's one thing we grow well in the back.
well, but in a small garden, I would say basil probably might be hard. But the chives just keep going. I mean, I thought they were so I chopped them down and they started sprouting up as it got to be spring. So I'll have to try this recipe out because I have the
dinner.
chives.
Thank you. Very good.
Oh, you're welcome.
That was dinner.
That's great.
Thank you for joining me. I hope you learned
Thank
a
you
little
for
bit about
doing
cooking.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank
Ciao,
you.
guys.
And
Thank
learn
you.
the soup in the kitchen.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
It was fun.
Bye.
It was
Seeing
fun.
everyone.
Bye.
Be
Yes.
well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.